Hey everyone, it's Jessica Michaels here with another Cherry on Top Crafts video for you. Today's Technique Tuesday, and our theme this month is distressing. So that's one of my favorite things, and this should be a really fun one. As soon as I saw this paper in the brand new 49 & Market Beach Vibes collection, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. This is one of my favorite things to do with papers like this, whether it's like stripes or waves in this case. I like to cut the papers apart and then distress them all up and basically piece them back together. So I'm using a plain sheet of white cardstock from my stash here as my anchor point and my base for my layout, and I started cutting these apart with my X-Acto knife and cutting that, but it just wasn't fast enough for me, so I ended up just trimming them with my scissors. It ended up working a little bit better because this paper is very thick. It's a really nice thick quality, so my X-Acto knife was actually taking 2 passes to cut that, so I found it to be a lot faster to just use my scissors. And then I'm just taking my edge distresser here. If you don't have one of those to run alongside your edges, you can easily use your scissors or even just rough up the edges using your fingernails as well. So use what you have, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm just distressing both edges, the top and the bottom, after I've cut them apart. And I did find it a little bit easier to distress the top when it was still part of the big paper over here. As you can see, I'm distressing that top edge first, then I'm cutting it, and then I'll distress the other edge. But I just found it a little bit easier to hold when it's still part of the paper versus distressing like this when you just have this little strip. But I kind of had to make do with the bottom edge because there was no other way to do that. But there you can see I have most of them down here. I just wanted to show you how I did the bottom. At the bottom, because I left some spaces in between my waves so that some of the white paper peeked through, I ended up having to just trim that bottom piece off with my cutting my paper trimmer. So I did that off camera, and then here's my photo that I'm going to use today. Just one photo today of myself and my son during one of our beach adventures, and I decided to just kind of tuck it into that little wave. Originally, I was going to do some machine stitching with my sewing machine on all of these waves as well, but I didn't really want to do that. I wanted this distressing this time to just kind of shine through, and I wanted to do some heavy embellishing on this one. So I ended up choosing a small paper from the small 6x8 paper pad that kind of looks like sand, and I used that to map my photo just to pull in a little bit more of that orange color like on his life vest. And then I'm grabbing the laser cuts, the puffy stickers, the die cut pieces, all of the things from this collection. I was immediately drawn to these palm trees. I love palm trees. It's one of my favorite things, and we don't typically have them around here in Pennsylvania. It's not palm tree type of climate. So I just tend to use them on our normal beach layouts, and that's okay for us. So I've got the chipboards here at this point. I'm just sorting through these, seeing if I can find a title that would be appropriate to use. I've got that happiness comes in waves, and I feel like that's going to be a pretty good one. I just finished searching through there just to make sure that was the one that I wanted to go with. And I've also pulled out some of those little word phrases there. I've pulled out 3 different ones that I would like to stagger on this layout underneath my photo or possibly above, but it's probably going to go at the bottom. And then I found that cute little sign, and I just kind of thought it looked really nice just to create another little cluster at the bottom left. So that's what I'm going to work on. And then I'm just pulling out the other ephemera pack here, just trying to find some tickets or some little bits and pieces that I can throw on the top of my photo. I like to add little bits and pieces to the tops or the sides of my photos just for some additional layering. And I was debating on using one of those frames like the driftwood, but I ended up not doing that. What I did do though is I grabbed some of my cheesecloth that I got from the Cherry on Top shop, and I love this stuff. I love to ink it up whenever I'm working with inks and make it different colors, and I love to just add it into my beach layouts like this or just any kind of grungy kind of layout. And as you can see, I've just kind of ruffled it up. I just cut like a strip. It was not perfect. I just cut like a pretty good sized strip. I say it was probably about like 12 inches by maybe like 3 inches. And then I really just kind of roughed it up with my hands. I kind of crumpled it and pulled it at it on the edges so that they were a little bit more stringy. And then as you can see here, I just kind of let it fall onto my layout, and I'm just lightly gluing this down. Nothing super heavy because I don't want the whole thing to be glued down. I just wanted the bits and pieces to be glued down enough to make it stay onto my layout. And then I'm gonna just embellish on top and around this cheesecloth just because it looks really cool. It makes it look like beach knitting, and I just love the way that it looks. So I'm just going to add some of these little laser cuts here. I love this little camera and these surfboards. Again, the surfboards were not from the Pacific Ocean, California, or anywhere where there's like surfing involved, but I love to throw surfboards and different kinds of things like that and palm trees onto any kind of beach layout that we do. So it works out perfectly fine for me. So I've got that surfboard. I'm actually going to grab another one at some point in this layout too and put another surfboard on there as well. I will end up using one of those little life preservers as well. I kind of debated on adding some like tiki hut kind of roof on the top of my photo with the pattern paper from this collection that looks like the top of a tiki hut, but I ended up just not doing that. I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna just add some tickets and things at the top of my photo, and that's gonna be that, because I wasn't quite sure if it was pointed as a tiki hut or are they flat on top with rounded corners. I would have had to do some research on that. So to be honest, I just opted out for the quicker and easier route for me at this point, which is just to tuck some various things in at the top to add it and just add some layers like I like to do. So my tickets themselves, I like to rip them in half, as you can see, and then I layer them like that because you're basically getting double bang for your buck there, and you're getting 2 embellishments for the price of 1. So bigger embellishments like that, I do typically cut or rip in half and use both pieces. So I've got that pretty much layered up. I'm going to tuck my camera in there, and then I'm going to grab a couple more things for the top here. I love the puffy stickers in this set. They are just so sweet. I love the little puffy waves, those puffy surfboards, the sunglasses, the beach balls. I just love all of these little puffy stickers. They're just so adorable. I'm going to grab some of these little seashells and put down on here. I've got this little jar of kind of collection of things like you would find on the beach, which is something we typically do while we're walking the beaches, is we just look for little cute rocks and seashells and things. My kids love to do that and find little snail shells around here and just things like that. I'm actually excited for our beach trip coming up. We are going to a different beach than we've ever been to, so I'm kind of excited to see what we can find on the beach and see how my kids experience it and what they choose to do. So that's always really fun, is just to kind of watch them enjoy the experience and see what they get out of it and see what they find. I've got the little word phrase that I've just popped on there from the puffy stickers also at the top of my photo, and then my word phrases are going to go down there at the bottom, as you can see. And I am going to grab a couple of those little seashells and just go ahead and glue them down here at the bottom by this little sign. I love little signs like this. I actually have a stamp set that you can kind of make your own, and I don't use it as often as I should because I love these little signs and things, and I really should pull that out more, but things happen, right? So what else am I going to add to this? I've got a flare here from Scrapbooking Happy Studio. This is her canvas flare, and I really love to make like a glue dot sandwich with these and put thread in behind there. So what I do is I put one glue dot on there, and then I just grab a big piece of thread and then just kind of hold it up in the air and let it fall down into my other hand or on your desk, and then it just kind of naturally twirls around. And then what doesn't twirl around, I just kind of manipulate manually with my hands and then just add another glue dot to secure to the page itself. So super easy and simple. I did glue down my tails, as you saw, just using some of the clear Deluxe Nouveau adhesive. That's what I'm using here with my sequin tool as well, along with some Catherine Puller sequins. I think this is the Pagoda mix, if I remember right. And then just to finish this one off, I'm just grabbing a little label from my stash here and my date stamp and some intense black ink and just stamped my date right there. So that's going to do it for this one. I'm going to link everything down below in the description so you can grab everything from the shop from this beautiful collection by 49 & Market. So I hope you guys enjoyed this process today and learning a few tips and tricks for how to distress on your scrapbook pages or your projects. And thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.